I'm David, and welcome back to the channel. So today, we've got another lovely day today, so I thought I'd get back in the garden and do some more work. We're going to have a little bit of play on the Amiga today. We've got a couple of sensors to swap, so let's get into it. So recently on the Amiga, the temperature gauge has stopped working. So you have two sensors on this engine for coolant. You have one for the gauge and one for the ECU. Now, gauge has stopped working. You're probably going to say that sensor's failed. However, the car is, what are we on now? 22, 23 years old. Both sensors are next to each other. So for the fact that the sensors are about £7 each, and I'm getting into taking off all of the intake plenum to get down to the middle of the V to do the sensors, I thought, why not just do both sensors, which might cause a little bit of rough running I've got from the ECU coolant sensor. So let's have a look at what we've got for today. So we've got two Febby sensors. One is your ECU sensor and one is your gauge sensor. Both are in the middle of the V. Now, as you can see, all we need is basic tools. We've got 17-19mm spanner. You need a 24mm socket, 1/4 inch or 3/8 ratchet and sockets, various sockets, 8-10s I think, and then we need a couple of these e-Torx. Now, you can get expensive ones or you can buy cheap ones. I will put a link to a set of them off Amazon. Again, they're quite cheap just for taking little nuts and bolts off. They're very handy. So should be a fairly straightforward job. There's just a lot of stuff to take off. You've got to take bagpipes off, intake off, breather hoses, vac lines, fuel lines, take it out the way and get to the sensors. And you have got to be quick when doing this, because as you take the sensor out the middle of the V, a load of coolant will gush out. So seeing as it's another cracking day, which I'm enjoying the nice weather, I haven't even pulled the Sierra out today. I thought, I'm not doing it on the lift, I'm just going to do it on the driveway in the sun. And I've got my seat for when my old back gets sore. So let's get into it. So getting all the tools laid out on the side to make the job a little bit easier for myself. I've got my little lecky ratchet out, 6 or 7mm socket or a screwdriver to remove the Jubilee clips off the bagpipes, depending on whether the clips are the originals or they've been swapped. Twist them out the way. Now the top of the plenum are e-Torx. You use one of them sockets as said. Pull out the 4 bolts. On the back at the top there is 4 rubber breather pipes. 2 are joined together, the 2 middle ones are separate. Just push them off and push them to the back. You got to take the vac line off the back right intake valve. And then there's a couple of little brackets here, one at the front and one at the back on the left, that are holding a bit of wiring leading just onto the top of the plenum. Back one can be a little bit fiddly as it's under the skull. On the right you've got a pipe there that needs a boom with a 17mm spanner, and then on the left we have our 2 fuel pipes are in and out, flow and return. One's a 17, one's a 19, so you can't put them on the wrong way. Remove them, a little bit of fuel will spill out, so just have a little rag under just to collect it. And as you see, play them loose. Unplug the vac line off the bottom of the throttle body. Make sure there's no connection on the back, there's another vac line to pull off. And underneath, disconnect the throttle body. And make sure all your O-rings are still present, because sometimes they stick to the top of the plenum or stay on that middle inlet manifold. For fuel pressure, none there if it's not been used for a few days. A little Schrader valve at the back. Find the correct Torx socket. There's a few bolts holding that middle plenum in. I think there's 6. You might need a little extension bar just to help you get them out a bit easier. There we go. So, you can see I've took the upper plenum off. This has O-rings here. Put them back in there. These are reusable a few times, so you're okay with these. This is your upper inlet manifold. And down here you can see I was removing the Torx bolts. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts holding it in. And then that can lift out the way and we should be able to get to the breather thing then, I think, unless we've got to take the lower one off. But I dropped the bolt. Oh. Hate dropping bolts. Magnet on a stick is always very, very handy. Come on. Where is it? Come on. Get out. Come on. Come on. Have I got it? Have I got it? Have I got it? Oh, it wasn't a bolt. It was my bit off my gun. So, last one out on the back, and then should be able to get to the sensors. Now this can be a little bit fiddly to lift off. It's just a case of a bit of wiggle left to right and making sure you don't snag anything on the way up. Disconnect the loom for the fuel injector harness and the whole thing placed out the way. Where we are now, upper inlet manifold's off. You see all the injector rail in it. You can leave the bolts in for now. So, here's the sensors. You've got that one there on the top, which has just got a little spade connector on. Slides off and on. And then there's the other one at the back, which is a little bit of a pain to get to. And I've got a feeling that's the one that's going to let more coolant out. So, try and move a few bits out the way. Oh, that sensor's definitely gone. It's spinning within itself. Let's move that plug out the way. There we go. Right. Let's get to it. Little lad's come to join me, interested as always, for about 5 seconds. So we've got the plenum back in, a little bit of a wiggle back in, put the harness back on at the back, and then everything else is the reversal of taking it off. I find using a little magnet on the stick is handy to drop the bolts in the little gaps. Then I am grabbing my magnet. Start it off with the magnet, then you've got it ready for your ratchet and socket. lightly use the gun, and then just nip them up with a hand ratchet if you're unsure, get a feel for the torque. So reconnect the cables on the upper plenum, back lines, etc. Drop that on the top. There is 2 little locating dials, so once they're in, drop the 4 e-Torx bolts in the top and gun them up lightly. None of these bolts are heavy torque because you're just there to nip up the seal of the O-rings. Little lads back again being interested. Reattach the line on the right with your spanner, and then your 2 little brackets there, one at the front. All it does is hold the wiring loom in place. We're getting the fuel lines back on. As I said, you can't get these wrong, different sizes. Good nip up on each of them. Sometimes you have to hold the nut and tighten up the thread of the hose onto it, but mine seems to be okay. Brackets at the back, vac lines and connection for the multi-ram. Find that pesky connector for the throttle body, put that back on. Turn your bagpipes around, somehow manage to get them back in place. So we ran the Amiga up to temperature, let the fans kick in, and the coolant gauge still doesn't move. Now, one of the sensors when I took it out was actually broke. It was spinning within itself, so I'm glad I took them out and swapped them, but the gauge still isn't moving. So we've either got a fault with the gauge or a fault with the wiring to the sensor. So all hell's out. See if we can read the temperature sensors to know whether the sensors are working. If I haven't got a reading from one of the sensors, it's probably the wiring. If everything's okay, probably looking at the clock itself, the gauge. So let's see what we find. We don't lie and we don't bullshit on this channel. Things go wrong. So as said, I did the sensors. I didn't fix it, but one sensor was broke, so it did need to be done. I've checked the live data with the Autel and everything was reading fine, so that says the sensors and the wiring are okay. Dash clock's out, so I'm going to take the clocks off. I'm going to see if anything's stuck, sticky needles or anything like that, clean it out. I'm going to clean all the contacts where everything is and just make sure I can't see anything burnt out or anything like that untowards, and then we're going to put it back in, connect it up and see if we get anywhere with that. So I pulled all the clocks out, had a look around the back. I broke a little bit of the plastic, but it's okay because it's held in with screws. The needle was a tiny bit sticky, but not that much really. So I sprayed all the contacts with electrical contact cleaner, and I use a very, very, very soft brush just to give all the contacts a clean up. So now I'm just going to build it back up. Plug it in the car and see what we get. But what am I? That'll do. You should never touch bulbs with your fingers, or your skin for that matter. The oils on your skin can affect them and cause them to go early. Ooh, it's quite dark there. Two. The fiddliest things known to man. Right, so what I'll do is I'll put them back in. I'll temporarily fit that in the car, start it up. Hopefully it won't take too long because the car's not been turned off too long, and we'll see if the gauge works. It's not fixed. So I've cleaned it all up and the gauge still isn't working. So gonna go into another day, I think. This car's still usable, clocks are back in. I guess we'll have to get a new gauge. Let's good luck try finding one of them for that car. So this is going to be a two-parter, this one. So I said we've done the two sensors, they're working. I've checked them with the auto, they're reading correct now, so I know at least the engine's not going to overheat, and the ECU is going to fuel it right because of the temp sensor, so that's okay. I've checked the clocks and I've checked the wiring, so it's looking like the clock is now the issue, so I will get a new replacement clock. The next video will be swapping that over, getting it back in, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we fix not having a temp sensor, well, temp gauge. So like and subscribe, check the next video, part 2, and yeah, see you soon.